to adding additional information to our webpage. And as important is the dial. This is meant to be a really quick viewpoint as to what is the current status of the school district with regards to stage that we're in our reopening plan. I also want to share some really good news. If you take a look at this page, and I will put this in the chat, this is a newer page that the county has and that updates on a daily basis. And it actually talks about the total confirmed cases, hospitalization, positivity rate. But then you get down here to rate of cases per 100,000 over the last 14 days, which you know is a key part of our plan. You can see that today's date, we're at 57 per 100,000, which is in that moderate range. And we are at 4 days less than 75. And so that's a really important piece of information. And the county's doing a great job of keeping this updated. We need to have 28 consecutive days of less than 100 or less than 75 per 100,000 to get into our hybrid step 2.1. And then as you scroll down, you can see the demographics as it relates to the positive cases in our county and the ages of those cases, and then also the regional distribution of cases. And so really good information. Again, I'll copy and paste the link to this page so that families can review this on a daily basis. So with that being said, welcome back once again, and I'm going to introduce Michelle Olson, Assistant Superintendent.
All right, thanks, Marty. So good afternoon, everyone. We're really glad everyone could make it this afternoon. So I'm going to give just kind of some quick overviews of things that we have going on in the district relative to teaching and learning. And then we're going to have an opportunity to hear from Brooke Anderson, who teaches 3rd grade at Hamilton. And then we'll hear from Angie Gooding, who is a teacher at the high school, and really get that teacher perspective. They've been in it now for both of these teachers for a couple weeks, helping out at the district level as well. So they'll have some good insights. So just to step back a little bit, if you go back to our plan that we created back in June and then submitted at the end of July, we called out some really important steps that we needed to do to be ready for the fall and the start. And one of those pieces was for all of our teams of teachers to identify the essential standards, the most essential standards for the areas that they teach. And so for kindergarten through 6th grade, they started with math and ELA. And then as we moved up into middle school and high school, they began to identify those standards by subject area and content. We also then began to look at the model, the instructional model that we were going to be using, and starting to plan out that scope and sequence, what that would look like. And then once we knew that our platform, or not our platform, but our model was going to be 100% remote, then we also needed to make sure that we were using best instructional practices to design a schedule for a student day that would include synchronous learning time, which is that time when there's live interaction, but also that asynchronous time for new instruction, which would be when a student could choose to do that learning time. So there was a lot of learning going on, not just for teachers, but also for principals and assistant superintendents. Like, how do we do that? How do we manage that? So the other part of our plan was that we developed a common platform, learning management system. And it's our core 4. And what we mean by that is that for our teachers in 4th through 12th grade, they're using the Google Classroom. Everybody is using that as their platform. And then within that, they're using Google Drive. They're using Screencastify to make videos to share. And then when we are meeting live with our students, we're using the Google Meet. So we heard loud and clear from parents and students, and certainly even teachers from last spring, that if we can have a common platform, that it's going to make it that much easier for parents to interact and for students. And then for our youngest learners, so our pre-K to third grade, they are using a learning platform called Seesaw. And we chose that because it's more developmentally appropriate to their needs. It also allows the child to really interact through the technology with the teacher in a more independent way. And so we heard that from parents too. It's like, how can I help my child be more independent with their learning, even if they're at kindergarten, first grade? So we did go with the Seesaw. So teachers have been working over these last couple of weeks, of course, to learn the platforms and to create different lessons. And I'll let both Angie and Brooke talk more about that when they are up. Another important part of our plan, though, is our focus on the social emotional learning. And what we know is that social emotional learning, like that's our main focus. And we need to make sure that we are tending to that first and foremost. And then from there, we can certainly build on with the academics. And that was a goal that's K-12. So whether you're at the elementary or the high school, we are going to find out what your needs are and look for ways that we can support them. And so one way that we did this unique to Port Angeles is that K-12, we are scheduling family instructional and support meetings for every single student in the Port Angeles School District. So our meeting started yesterday. And if you're an elementary student, you would have gotten a call from your teacher, and then you'll set up a time to come in. And at those family instructional and support meetings, that's when we're going to get to know your child, get to know you as a family, find out what your needs are, what can we support you with, what questions do you have. That's where we gave out materials. We shared the Chromebooks. Again, that was part of our plan, trying to get every student the Chromebook who needs it. And then just a time to get to know each other and build that relationship. And at middle school and high school, we have advisory periods. And so each advisory teacher was reaching out to their student and family and setting up a time to, again, do the same thing, have that casual conversation, go over schedules, share what the learning platform is, take questions that might have come up. And again, with our goal is being proactive, establishing that relationship, making sure that we're hearing about any concerns, and that way we can be thoughtful in our interventions. And so I participated in one family meeting this morning with my son at Stevens, and I loved it. It was exactly what we were hoping for, which was that most important information. But then I, as a parent, got a chance to ask questions. And then my son got an opportunity, to meet this teacher he's never seen, but now all of a sudden is going to be in his advisory. And it definitely lowered his nervousness and anxiety that he was feeling thinking about middle school. So those are just some of the things that we're working on. We also are providing social emotional learning curriculum, K-12. So all of our teachers and staff have had the beginning training, and we're using a program called Character Strong. And we're excited to be able to share that with all of our schools, and we'll be putting out, again, connections for families and with our community. So lots going on. I could talk for a long time, but it's definitely more interesting to hear from the teachers about what's really going on in the classroom, and I know they've enjoyed getting to know their students. So Brooke, I'm going to turn it over to you to just share what's on your heart and what you've been enjoying over these last few weeks.
All right, thank you, Michelle. So yes, I'm Brooke Anderson. This is my 25th year at Hamilton, and by far the hardest beginning I have ever had. And I was hired the day before school started, my very first year, and that doesn't even compare. I want to kind of go to the family aspect that Michelle was talking about, and every parent that I called last week and then on Monday to set up these appointments could not have been more gracious, understanding, kind. I kept saying, I didn't keep saying, but I kept saying, I would repeat with every conversation, bear with me, and we'll take it easy, and we'll do this together. And it was wonderful, and that's just continued into our meetings. I cannot thank them enough. I have a few parents I have to call from yesterday that I forgot little bits and information, and so, and they were great. They were like, no worries. So I've been involved for the last couple of weeks. I started with the ELA team with Jen Soul that teaches at Franklin, and we worked on that scope and sequence. We've been creating slides to go with our scope and sequence, and we've been meeting with our 3rd grade team to talk about the videos and the different slides and what we're going to focus on in 3rd grade. And we have one brand new teacher here at Hamilton. She was just hired on basically Sunday night to teach with me. And she is right in there, Kate Bradshaw. She has been an excellent person to join us. We have created 2 weeks of slides, and the 3rd grade teachers are adding from the other schools are working together to add their information. I started in on one day with Erica Cook at Dry Creek to work on the math. And we worked on a template for the slides and the scope and sequence, but the slides that the kids will see. She and Debbie Erickson have been creating the videos, and they have done a phenomenal job. I mean, I'm just thoroughly impressed, and I feel very good giving those videos to my own students. Some of our challenges, our new Seesaw platform, I'm going to say is a challenge right now, learning it. It is new and different, but we'll do that. We're working together to understand and know that those tools that are exciting. For example, kids can record their writing. They can show me pictures of their writing. They can show me videos of their writing. Those are all exciting and new things to explore with them. Just learning the whole new background is a challenge. The technology and creating videos, that's a little overwhelming, but we're all working together in 3rd grade to help each other. Kate and I are going to work tomorrow. That's our job, videos. So we know we have to get up in the morning and be prepared to do lots of videos. And I want to just focus on our Hamilton staff. I just want to thank our Hamilton staff for the hard work. I mean, everybody from our principal to our paraeducators and our nurse and our secretaries and our counselor and the teachers, our custodians, our lunch staff, everybody has been in on this 100%, giving their very, very best from the very beginning. And having that has helped immensely with us and what we're doing here. So thank you for having me today, and look forward to seeing all these kiddos.
All right, thank you, Brooke. And just to elaborate a little bit on what Brooke was sharing, we also heard from parents from our survey that we gave last spring, the importance of consistency, not only just in our learning platform, but in the scope and sequence. And so you heard Brooke referencing other schools. So she's been part of a team that has come together across all 5 schools throughout the month of August and here into September. And, you know we need to be efficient with our time, and we want to put out the lessons that are engaging for the students. And so those 5 teams across the schools are working together on a daily and weekly basis so that we can put out a consistent, engaging lesson for every grade, but as she's highlighted here, for 3rd grade. And so it's exciting, and it's hard work, and everybody is learning, but the fact that we are doing it across buildings is exciting. And one of those pieces we talked about is we have daycare providers across Port Angeles, right, that are pulling kids from all 5 elementaries. And so for them, as they're looking for ways to support, it is amazing that we can then respond, guess what, all 3rd graders, this is what their learning is, and this is the time that their daily meeting is. And I know in talking to Valerie for Kids Campus, 28 elementary kids that she's going to be having there, and the fact that we have a consistent scope and sequence along with a consistent daily schedule across 5 elementaries is making her planning for her students a lot easier. So let's move over and talk secondary, and we'll have Angie tell us what she's been up to.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. So I'm Angie Gooding, and I teach history up at the high school. And I want to start, and Michelle, thank you for cueing us to talk from our heart, because I have to reiterate what Brooke said, that parents have been nothing but gracious. You know, there's been a lot of work that we've had to put in, and we've made a lot of mistakes, and I really appreciate the kind reminders, or the kind like, hey, did you mean to do that? And it's just been really amazing to work with parents really side by side. And also meeting students has been really fun. I met my first 8 students or so that are in my advisory yesterday, and it was really great just to connect again, because we really haven't been physically with students since March, and that's why we get into the job. Is we get into the job because we love kids, and we love, motivating them and inspiring them, and it's just a whole different ball game trying to motivate students online. And, I've been saying this for a little while, but really good teachers are hard to ignore, but it's very, very easy to ignore a computer. And so those are the things that we're really grappling with right now. And we are really trying to have discussions about in our PLCs, and PLC stands for Professional Learning Community, which are groups of teachers working together. But those are the conversations that are happening. And it's been really positive up here at the high school, and more collaboration has been happening, I think, in the last 2 months, or since spring, than really in my career, to be honest. And so I see a lot of positive things coming out of this. So about a month ago, I was invited to be on a committee to help out and to help plan what consistencies we were going to be presenting to students. And so we had probably, 15 teachers or so from all grade levels talk about how can we present information to students in a consistent way, because it was not like that in the spring. Spring was crisis teaching, it was crisis management. We were just trying to do our best, and now I feel that we have a system, and the systems, I think if you're looking over your student's shoulder, you can see that we are organizing our weeks into week 0.1 on Google Classroom, and 0.1 would be the first assignment for this week, and then 0.2 will be the second assignment for this week. And since there are 9 weeks in this quarter, they will have 9 weeks of assignments. And so the great thing that I was trying to explain to students yesterday is I think the system is really great for a lot of reasons. And for students specifically, if they're sick or unable to do an assignment, week 6, it's really easy for them to find what they missed. And so there's a lot of strengths coming out with our organization and our work in our PLCs. So those are great things too. I think also, I've heard, and not in Port Angeles, but just randomly on Facebook, I hear a lot of complaints about, oh, teachers are not doing, what as much as they used to in the classroom. And we're working exceptionally hard. And I think, all the parents that I've talked to acknowledge that, but the work that we're doing is just so different. Just today, I figured out how to include voice messages in student documents, in their written work. And so instead of having to type, a response to a kid like, hey, think about this instead, or I want you to think deeper about, I can actually speak to them. And I think that adds a personal touch that is missing, I think, because we're removed from the classroom environment. So, and we're going to continue learning more. And what I know that Marty and Michelle are committed to is making sure that we have the tools. And these tools are moving targets as well. And I, as a teacher, have been inundated with, hey, try this app, try this. I mean, it's kind of a marketing overload. And so going through and trying to figure out what are the best systems to use with students is I think, a challenge right now. But the Core 4 is really giving us a basis to work from, just a really good platform. And then as we go, we can keep experimenting with different great ways to keep students engaged. And because I think that's going to be just an ongoing conversation we're going to need to have. So, Yeah, I'm really thankful to be a part of a district that is committing themselves to being consistent and to moving forward. Just personally, I don't think that education is going to go back to the way it exactly was, and I think that's a good thing. But I do think that that personal touch, getting kids back in the classroom when we can, and then still using some of these new systems of engagement are going to be really powerful. So thanks for having me and then letting me be a part of the panel.
Thanks, Angie. All right, so again, just some perspective from elementary to high school and certainly middle school, as I alluded to from my family meeting this morning, is following those same pieces. And we want to, again, have it be consistent, have it be engaging, be able to meet student and family needs where they're at. And that's, again, the focus of our district, is make sure that we have that strong instructional delivery model, that we're focusing on students' social emotional learning, and again, collaborating with our community as well to support all of our students. So I'll turn it back over to Marty.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the updates from elementary and secondary, and thank you very much, Michelle. And something I want to reiterate that both the teachers referenced, and I said this last week, there's kind of a false narrative out in our community, and I'm not saying Port Angeles, but out into the educational community in the state and across the nation, that because some districts are in remote learning scenarios, that staff, teachers are not working as hard as they would have worked during a brick and mortar setting. And that's absolutely not the case. Angie referenced a month ago starting this work, and Brooke referenced, coming together. And these are dedicated professionals coming, taking time away, their personal time away of summer break, to come in and help to laying the foundation, the structures necessary to carry out a very cohesive delivery model in whatever that ended up being, a distance learning and or a hybrid model. So I can't say that enough, and I can't thank our staff enough for stepping up to really do the hard work to make sure that what we do this year can be succinct and collaborative and very effective for our families. We're committed to that. And from every angle of this organization, we're committed to that moving forward. Will we miss the target from time to time? The answer is absolutely yes, but we're committed to making it right. We're going to make this right. We're going to do good things for our community and for our students. And both teachers here today are just a great representation of the wonderful staff we have K-12. So with that being said, before we open it up to Q&A, I do want to answer a question from last week. And I can't remember who was asking the question. I hope she's in the room. But we've had a question for a couple of consecutive weeks around PE at the high school, and the ability to excuse or waive students from that requirement. The good news is this. I asked that if you're in the room, and maybe Jen can reference who was asking that question, but the answer is yes. Reach out to your counselor at the high school, and we'll take you through the process. Really, it's 3 steps. We have an application for the student to apply for a PE waiver/excuse. We then have a study guide so that student can study for the physical education test, and then take the knowledge test. And if he or she passes the knowledge test, then they can be granted 0.5 PE credit, which is a half of a credit semester, a semester credit at the secondary level. And you can do that up to 1.5 PE credits at the high school. And so the good news is, we had this policy in place last year, but it was around in season. So if you were participating in, let's say, football or basketball or volleyball, you could apply for the excuse or the waiver for the PE credit. But now we've extended that to be retroactive. So if you participated as a ninth grade, student in volleyball, you can apply for the 0.5 credit in a retroactive form. So this process is now outlined and implemented at the high school. So I encourage you to reach out, speak to your counselor around that concept. And again, like I said last week, there will be flexibility, and this is the flexibility that we know students are in need of, and quite frankly have need to finish their 24 credit graduation requirements. So with that being said, we'll open up the questions. Jen, what do you have for us?
So far, nothing is pending. So a friendly reminder that if you do want to make a comment or ask a question, please type your name into the Q&A at the bottom and we'll happily call on you. Although, Marty, earlier this week, I did receive a question via Facebook, so I've saved it for now. It's what is happening with choir and band at the high school? If we can start off with that one, please.
Yeah, that's a great question. We are, choir, band, and orchestra all exist, within our system, K-12. We're very much committed to, the arts, and in this case, specifically music education. We're really challenging, just as you've heard from Angie and Brooke today, we're challenging every department and every group of our school system to come up with creative solutions on how we make choir, how we make band, how we make these events work in our system. And so I know now that our music teachers are working collaboratively to come up with solutions to that very piece. The Department of Health guidance came out early on in June and really outlined that that events like choir and band could not be done in person because of the infection rate that could occur with voicing or portraying your voice in a way that kind of broadcasts across a room and or an instrument. So our teachers are working right now to make sure that those events that we all have near and dear to our heart with regards to musical events in our district will be a part of our offering this school year. They may look different. We don't think we're going to be able to pack, the house for the holiday concert, in December, but there will be, concerts and experiences for students in smaller scales, and then bringing them together virtually. So our teachers are working on that right now. I don't have the solution today, but in the coming weeks, I have invited, I think it's the orchestra teacher to come out and talk about his plan for Port Angeles High School. And I think that's 2 weeks from today. And so they're working really hard, just as our BEA teachers are working now, to come up with those creative solutions, because there will be experiences for kids and students across our campuses. So more to come on that as we continue to develop it, and we will have quality experiences for our students.
Thanks, Marty. There is still nothing in the queue, so as promised from last week, to handle the silence, I'm going to quiz you.
Oh boy.
Question number 1. What was your first paid job?
Oh, that's an interesting question. You're catching me by surprise here. My first paid job. Yeah. So I was born and raised in Grandview, Washington, and so that was in an agricultural community. And although my family didn't own a farm, I worked in the processing plants. And so my first job was working in a cherry harvest. And I think I was 14, maybe 15 years old, and worked in a cherry processing plant, and worked pretty hard, during the cherry harvest. 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, but was very thankful for the job. So yeah, that would be probably my first paid, other than mowing lawns when I was a kid.
All right, next one is that I'm sure you can name all 8 schools in our district, but can you do it in alphabetical order?
Oh, jeez. I'm gonna default that one to Michelle. Michelle, you've been here a lot longer than I have, so let's have Michelle try that one.
Oh, goodness, the pressure. All right, so all of our schools, here we go. Let's start with Dry Creek. Right? Am I starting out so far so good? And then let's go with Franklin. There we go. And then let's go with Hamilton. And then let's move over to Jefferson. And then let's go Lincoln, right? High school. And then let's go over to Port Angeles High School. And then we'll meander over to Roosevelt Elementary. And then we go to Stevens. Did I get them all?
Yeah, wow.
Look at that, skills.
Good for you. That's awesome.
That was impressive. That was impressive. Oh, and with that, I think someone's wanting the quizzing to end. So I'm going to be unmuting Amanda Sanders. Appears to have a question or comment. Are you there, Amanda? Oh, I see. She says she does not have a mic. However, she wanted to point out, Michelle, that you forgot Seaview.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Right. All right.
good point.
Nice catch, Amanda.
Yes.
Amanda, thank you. You're always looking out for me. All right, I got it.
All right, so again, if you guys have any questions, please just put your name in the Q&A and we'll happily call on you. I did want to add, Marty, that Nathan Rodahl, the high school orchestra director, did make a wonderful video that's posted on the district's Facebook page where it shows some ideas about this upcoming school year, and it's pretty cool. We do have another question. Michelle, I'm going to enable your mic now. Last name starts with an M, and I don't want to ruin your last name by trying to pronounce it. Michelle, are you there? All right, it appears maybe Michelle doesn't have a mic. However, the question is, does the, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Michelle. Go ahead.
No worries. This is Michelle Mikey. Thanks, everybody, for pulling this together on a weekly basis during this really interesting time in our lives. But I'm curious to know, does the district have in place a plan to support the behavioral health needs of students? We often know that this is the place where kids get those kinds of services.
Yes, absolutely, Michelle. So one of our first pieces as far as support is that we started with the family meetings. And as part of the family meetings, we put together a protocol of questions that we absolutely wanted every teacher, K-12, to be asking the families. And one of those questions is, you know, things have been unusual over these last 6 months with learning, with being at home. Tell us about the needs of your child as they relate to their social emotional needs. And so we're starting off by, again, creating that relationship, asking them what they need, what worries they have, and every single teacher across the district is doing that. More importantly, we're also being really proactive. And so one of those pieces I talked about before was we know that we need to provide that social emotional learning curriculum for all of our students to help them have the skills that they need to continue to be resilient and be able to focus on what comes their way. So we are providing that as well. as our teachers are meeting with families and students, if there are, you know, needs relative to physical, like, you know, safety or food or clothing or, you know, physicians, we have a district navigator, Rebecca Larson, and she's working with 2 assistants, Krista Hannon and Kelsey. And their job is then when they have hear of needs of families, they are then reaching out to that family, whether it's a phone call or a home visit, and connecting them with the community resources that they need. In addition, at each school, we have our counselors. And so our counselors are playing a very important role as far as, again, when there is a need identified or a question, they're able to, you know, in quick time, reach out to that family and provide the supports. And we continue to partner with the North Olympic Healthcare Network, with Peninsula Behavioral Health, the Ed Foundation, again, working together to meet those needs.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we do have a few other questions. This one I'm going to read. It's from Tina P. Hi, Tina. Thanks for your question. It's, can you please explain why core classes like math and ELA are not required for the full year, but only offered for 2 quarters? If students were to be in brick and mortar school, wouldn't those core classes be required throughout the entire year?
So I can go ahead and speak to that. And so as you may know, we are doing fewer classes at both the secondary, middle school, and the high school. And the reason we're doing fewer is that we are able to go more in depth. And we will be covering in a quarter what we typically are covering in a semester. So we are changing it again, so students are focusing on 3 classes instead of 6, but they still will, at the end of the year, walk away with a year's worth of instruction. We've just organized it in a different way.
And I want to add to that, that we went to a 3x3 schedule at the middle school and a 4x4 schedule at the high school based on, you know, whether we were in a hybrid or a distance learning model. That follows best practice in the you know, in the world of online instruction. What we found last year in the spring is for a high school student to try to navigate 7 courses in a day and 7 different expectations from teachers. It was, now there were a few students that could manage with that, but it wasn't the majority. And so offering 3 or 4 classes, depending upon the school, gives the student more in-depth learning in that content area and less teachers to work with. But again, the contact time will remain the same. We've increased the contact time for the ELA class and the math class to equal a semester's worth of work. And so that's another side that our teachers are working incredibly hard. That's a simple change on paper. It seems really simple, but our teachers are working double time to try to figure out, so how do I take, you know, 90 days worth of work and put that into a 45-day window, even though I have the time? But I have to do it in a very thoughtful and meaningful way for the students to meet the standard. So really, we went that direction because it aligns to best practice. And I'll transition across to now Seaview conversation. If you're enrolled in the Seaview program, you take 2 to 3 courses. You know, because again, that's best practice and that's what you can manage. And so our brick and mortar setting at the high school and the middle school will follow that plan to make it possible for students to be able to manage the workload.
Okay, Amanda Sanders has a question, but no mic. So she knows that teachers are really busy, and she's wanting to know if it's too overwhelming for teachers at this time to receive success emails about their students. She wants to offer encouragement and happy emails, but she doesn't want to overwhelm anyone with too many emails.
I'll let either Angie or Brooke speak to that.
I'll start, and I'm sure Brooke has something to say as well, but we need as much positivity as humanly possible at this time. You know, our colleagues we're helping each other and we're staying positive, but you know, this is really uncharted territory for us. And so there's a lot of questions like, wow, you know, is this going to be the best case for, you know, are we doing it right? And so any positivity you can send our way would be welcome, and no, it would not be overwhelming. So thank you. Thank you for being considerate though.
And I'll add that I have told families, please send your questions, comments, concerns, anything that's going well for you so that we know how we are doing. And we do every day have emails, I mean, pop up. It's, you know, 15 to 20 emails truly every couple of hours. And to see those bright stars in there where you're kind of feeling, it's much appreciated. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. Yeah, we most certainly need the positive vibes. And you know, it was a couple of days ago. Let's see, I can't remember what day of the week it is. It's a Friday, so we started the parent-teacher conferences yesterday, and I can't tell you how great it made me to feel to walk through our buildings and see students and families and teachers engaging once again. And so that really fed my soul. And I know that those positive compliments to your child's teacher will do the same. We're working hard, and you know, there's in some cases more problems than solutions, and those positive comments really help keep us, you know, focused on the work. So I'll also add to that, if there's, you know, suggestions, we want to hear those as well, because as Angie referenced, this is uncharted territory. We're doing the very best we can based on what we know today. And if we're missing the target in some areas, you know, we're committed as an organization to try to make it better. We want to make this work this year, and we will make this work. So thank you very much, Amanda.
Okay, there's nothing pending in the queue. So again, don't be shy, put your name in the Q&A if you have something to say or ask. So quiz time again. Marty, you may want to pass this off to Brooke and Angie, but
Yeah.
we'll see. So now that we know all of the 8 schools, or now, excuse me, 9, I got to change it, 9 schools in alphabetical order, what are all their mascots? Go.
I'm going to have Angie. Angie, why don't you try that one?
I'll just be honest. I don't know. I don't think I know them all. Does Seaview have one?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Seaview Orcas.
Okay. That's fantastic. Okay, so it's the Roosevelt Cougars, Port Angeles Rough Riders, Stevens Stampeders, and I think that's all I got.
All
Brooke,
right.
help me out.
Okay, I think it's the Dry Creek Dragons, Hamilton Hawks, Jefferson, is it Wolves?
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. Franklin, I don't know Franklin. And then Roosevelt, are they the Cougars? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Franklin Raccoons.
Oh, okay, yep.
All right, the only one that's left is Lincoln.
Oh.
Anyone? Okay, so I honestly didn't know either, and I believe they are the Wildcats. So there you go. Still looking for any questions or comments in the queue. All right, then my favorite time, quiz time. This will be an easy one though. You can just give me, and it can be for all 4 of you, best part of the last 2 days, because I know I've been out taking pictures and it has been beyond exciting. I didn't realize, since I'm not traditionally in a school, how much I liked seeing students, teachers, and families around. So that was by far my favorite part, just to see a few a few glimpses of what used to be our normal. So Marty?
I referenced it just a few minutes ago. Yesterday, I had, it seems like 4 or 5 days ago, but it was yesterday. I went around and walked through several of our buildings, and to see students back in our facilities and parents and teachers engaged in our family conferences was outstanding. And, you know, that was the pick me up that I needed to make sure that like we stay focused on this work, and we will make this work very well for our community. So it was exciting to see.
Yeah, I would have to say yesterday I was over at Roosevelt, and it was just to see the kids and parents so excited to be there, and especially after their conferences, because that's when they came out like with their plastic basket of like all their stuff. And you could tell they were excited like to walk away with this great, bright, colorful basket that had their math workbook and their whiteboard and dry erase markers, all these tools in there. Yeah, they were super excited. And I think then the other one would have been, I went down and I was talking to Molly Hibbler, who teaches kindergarten, right? And I was like, how was it? How is this going? And she was so excited. And I said, are you worried like about teaching kids how to read, how to cut, right? Hold a pencil, all those things? She's like, no. I said, have the parents been worried? She's like, no, we got this. And so literally she shows me, you know, what she gave each student, which was this, you know, cute little plastic container with all their tools. So their Play-Doh, their Unifix cubes, their whiteboard marker, and again, another plastic portfolio with, you know, their handwriting, and right, she's already shown them how to use Seesaw with the Chromebook. So like when kindergarten teachers are feeling like, yeah, they can do that, like that gives me great confidence because kindergarten's hard. So yeah, it was fun to see and hear a teacher perspective too.
So I will add, when you asked that question, I kind of teared up because it's been emotional. It really has. You get these kids coming into a classroom. I mean, my room looks nothing like what my classroom would look like on the first day of school. But they come in, they're so excited, they're nervous but excited, and your heart just melts. I mean, this is why we do our job for our kids. And I think the thing that's really been important to me with the kids I have seen is I've had a chance to listen to them read, and it just, listening to them read and the things that they need support on or the things that they're doing well, just reminds me too why I'm in this. Those are the things I want to tackle. And it's exciting to hear that, and they're excited to share with me their reading and thinking, and when you give them the thumbs up, they did something, and the big grins. That's why we're here.
All right, so I used to teach at Stevens. So I taught at Stevens for 6 years before moving up to the high school. So I get some of my old students back. So yesterday I met a couple of my old 8th grade students during advisories, and it was just really good. It was like a mini reunion, super fun. And I think it's really exciting for me to understand kind of what their abilities are, and they understand me. And so it'll be good, like I can check in like, hey, am I, you know, missing the mark? Or there's already a trust established. And so that made me feel really good to reconnect with them.
All right, well, thank you for indulging my Q&A. We do have a question in the queue. However, they do not have a mic. So I will ask on their behalf, if a child is enrolled in CView, is band offered? If it is offered, how will that even work?
So Jen, can you find out what grade the student is in they're referencing?
Yes.
If it's secondary, middle, or high school, the real value of CView, and so there's lots of ALE programs out there, but the real value of our CView program is it falls under the threshold of the Port Angeles School District, and so we can share classes from an ALE model to a brick and mortar model. So if the child is enrolled in at Stevens, at Port Angeles High School, where band classes are available, they can take a couple of courses in the ALE world or CView world and take a band class at the high school. That's the real advantage of our ALE program. When you go to other ALE programs, there's not shared responsibility there. And so if the child is secondary, work with, call the CView line and also Stevens Middle School, and we'll work you through that process so we can get you enrolled. And I see it's 7th grade. So we can get you enrolled in the 7th grade band class. Absolutely.
Great. So Melissa Briggs, I'm gonna enable your mic if you would like to make your comment.
So I just wanted to share that we had our Smart Start orientation yesterday with Mrs. Hobler. And we as parents, especially of kinders, have the opportunity to take extra steps to make sure that we have that level of connectivity with her, especially starting out as full online learning. So as much as she was excited to take the students' pictures, we took hers and I printed it, and it's on our home classroom wall, because at this point, starting next Wednesday, it's not mom or grandparents or whoever's assisting them, it's their teacher asking them to do these things. So for me as a kindergartner, they really need to see her every day, just not online, just not in videos, but her photo. And so they were excited this morning. They came out and they're like, she's on our wall. So I would encourage every family member of any grade level that they feel like that connectivity would assist in, but I think especially with kindergartners, because they don't know any different. But we have opportunities as parents to help you, help us, and that's the exciting part right now.
Wow, thank you for sharing that, Melissa. That's outstanding.
Melissa, I also saw your question earlier around how to connect to the Google Meet. And so it will be a link within the Seesaw platform that Ms. Hibbler will send out.
All right, we still have nothing further in the queue. So this would be the last chance in the next few minutes. If you have a question or comment, please put your name. Otherwise, I'll hand it over to Superintendent Brewer.
Yeah, so I'm going to promote a little bit of work moving forward. Again, I appreciate everybody coming out today. We'll do this again next Friday. Our special guests will be Pam Sanford, the Director of Special Services for the school district. And so we'll have her as a special guest, and I encourage you, the community, to continue to come out. And there's a great way to stay connected in a two-way conversation rather than one way, and just try to stay out ahead of ever-changing information. And the daily, we're updated with new guidance, with new requirements, and so our landscape changes often. And so it's just really, really important to engage in two-way conversation. So I appreciate those coming out and spending some time with us this afternoon. And I encourage you to bring friends next week.
All right, there is nothing further in the queue. But Marty, I did have one final quiz question for you.
Okay.
I know you're not going to like it, but
Oh,
I'm
boy.
virtual, so I feel some bravery here.
Your office is right next to mine.
I know. I will regret this, but it's fun in the moment, so we're going to go with that. When is your birthday, Superintendent Brewer?
Let's see. Today. Yeah.
Well, happy birthday. It's been
Thank
a
you very
fun
much.
virtual birthday lunch with you.
Yes.
And all of
yes.
you ladies as well.
And I'll even take it a step farther. Today I'm 55. So
nice.
that's the day. So
All
but
right.
I have a great birthday, because every year, like the opening of school is where my birthday falls. And so I love being around Labor Day and the start of school, just as the the teachers have referenced, like, that's why we're in this business, because we love what we do. And so I think I have one of the best birthday gifts of the year. I get to work with staffs to open up schools. So, all right, with that being said, if there's no further questions, I certainly appreciate your time today. And again, come out again next week, bring your friends, and we would love to continue this into the future so that it's meaningful conversation for the community to hear directly from, representation from across our district. So once again, thank you, Michelle, Angie, and Brooke. I appreciate your time today, coming out and spending it with us, and job well done. And keep up the good work, and we'll see each other real soon.
Great.
Thank you.